the East Midlands Councils on my behalf. So, notification of requests from members of the public to address the meeting. We've got one, which is Mrs. Jean Lineker on item 15. So I notice Jean is here.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Not at all. Item 3, meetings. The meeting held in public on 13th of August 2019. Cabinet, are we happy to agree those minutes? There we go. I'll give those to you, Susan. Fiona, you okay? And just for reference, Councillor Baker may have to leave us, but we'll see how we get on. Thank you. So item 4, declarations of interest by councillors. If there are any, Cabinet, are there any declarations of interest over and above what we've recorded? Councillor Baker?
I do have it recorded on my record, Leader, but I have an interest in the, I can't remember which one it is, the adults...
the SEND review?
Yes. Number 13. No, number 13.
13, yeah.
Sorry.
Contributions, their
yes.
contribution.
Yeah. Thank you. So item 5, announcements. I'm sure all members know about the passing of Stan Heggs, Councillor Stan Heggs, which was very unfortunate. Stan was one of our Conservative councillors from May 2005 to 2017 and passed away on the 19th of August. It was his funeral last week, and I know a number of us, I wasn't able to go, but I know a number of us did attend. So we send our wishes to Stan's family, and at the council meeting next week we will make a formal announcement for both Stan and for Mary Butcher. Thank you. So we move on to the Business Cabinet. Item 6, the monthly revenue monitoring report. Councillor Longley.
Thank you, Chair. Right, there's not a huge amount to report that we didn't report last month, but if I call your attention to page 18 and the normal report that we put together, you will observe 2 points on that. The first is that the year-end forecast now is has improved by just over £500,000 by 557 to 5,010,000 negative overspend. So we've still got a great deal of work to do on that. And more importantly, I'm bound to point out that the children's first as forecast has gone up from just about 6 million to just over 7. Now, the significance of that is that we've got to get a handle on these forecasts, and I'm assured that that's being dealt with. But that is our area that we have to concentrate, bring that back in, and the year end will begin to look much better. So that's the first thing I wanted to comment on. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention today, and I'm going to ask our finance director to explain this in more detail. He's more au fait with the numbers. Is a small change, well, not small, a change in our borrowing strategy. Now, the significance of that is that we've changed borrowing, and you'll see why in a moment. But that will have a negative effect in this financial year of £200,000. But if I can pass over to you, Ian, perhaps you will explain the rationale behind that.
Yes, thank you. Just to explain what had happened here, the first point I would make is borrowing is not connected directly with the revenue budget. So we're not borrowing because of our revenue position. All of our borrowing is to finance previous spending on our capital programme. And the benefits of the capital programme are felt over many years, and that's why you borrow over a similar period of time. From past Treasury management reports, the Council had financed a fairly significant element through short-term borrowing. That's to take advantage of low rates at the short term, but you run the risk every 6 or 12 months when those loans have to be replaced what the replacement interest rate would be. And what we had found is that an element of our short-term borrowing was from other local authorities. And following the publication of our updated medium-term financial plan, we were finding that the cost of replacing these loans with other local authorities was starting to show signs of increase. Then nationally, in the position on public finances, what we saw was a significant reduction in long-term borrowing rates. And that gave us, our budget previously had assumed the cost of replacement funds would be about 1.5%. And an opportunity arose where we could tie in for over 40 years interest rates of just below 1.7%. Now that does present some short-term pressure, and that's listed in the report. But I've not seen interest rates like this before. We felt it in the interests of the unitary councils in the future that these rates are locked in. There's no risk on those. They're fixed for the full period. And so the benefits of that cheap borrowing will endure through into the new authorities. So that was the thinking behind that change in approach. Nationally, authorities tend to borrow from the Public Works Loans Board, which is an element of the government's debt management office. I think in July the borrowing was around £400 million nationally. In August, the borrowing was £2 billion. And so the authorities, in the same way that we have done, have taken advantage of the low-term rate. So we weren't the only ones doing that.
Thank you. Councillor Longley, anything further to add at this point?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, the point being here is that we've got very long-term borrowings at what's historically been a very low rate of interest, and anybody that has a mortgage and can borrow at 1.67, then I think they'd do it very quickly. So we believe we've done the right thing there. Thank you.
Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity to speak. I do have a couple of questions. Unfortunately, very little appears to have changed since last month's report, with still even more spending required, of course, in children's services. The overspend in this area still appears to be a combination of original saving proposals not being met, or at least not to the extent originally hoped for, as shown in pages 20 and 21, with the biggest pressure around saving proposals for agency staff conversions and agency placements, but also from extra in-year demand pressures on agency placements relating to unexpected average costs and more children entering care than originally budgeted for. One question I have, therefore, is whether all of this extra demand is being covered by the additional agency social workers, or are we seeing rising caseloads for them and for our own staff? 5.21 suggests the cost of the Children's Services Improvement Programme is set to rise, and although this is obviously transformation funding and paid for by flexible use of capital receipts, it still clearly means extra public expense. So do we yet have any idea, please, when those additional costs will be finalised, so we have some idea of what they'll be? In children's, I also understand there have been some new senior management posts to children.